Good morning. How are you? All right. It is Tuesday, the 30th of June, 2020. And I've been doing some serious thinking about these medical charges that I received. You know, we the consumers in the United States, are subject to the controls of the gazillionaires who own the corporations. All right. And what appears to have happened over the last half century of my life anyway, is that the corporations are profiteering. They're making money hand over fist in order to control and direct the national election process. They want certain governing agendas to prevail. And we, the people, just really don't matter, okay? The gazillionaires who support non-profit charities use the money of those charities not to help people who need help, but rather to bribe and pay people to influence the election process, okay? We see this over and over again, all right? The gazillionaires who own social media, all right, use their assets to silence centrist points of view like Stefan Molyneux and PragerU and myself, whose science and art is negotiation, mediation, arbitration, conciliation, and bringing the left and the right together, the red and the blue together. No, social media will have none of that. They do not want any national consensus. What they want is a maximum amount of controversy, speculation, and divide and conquer. And so I was thinking, I woke up during the night and couldn't go back to sleep, because I'm thinking about the areas of our national life that are controlled by cartels, and these cartels are profiteering off of their industry, and then they use the profits to push their political agenda. And that's why the United States is in the throes of the latest Bolshevik revolution, because education, which is a cartel of its own, because institutions of academia have been teaching Marxism, the Milner Kindergarten, the Frankfurt School, Saul Alinsky for half a century now, and they have the kids convinced that they are entitled to have a living wage for their entire life, whether they have any useful skills or not. Okay, this is not working for us. Now, I got these notices in the mail that Medicare didn't pay for about $2,000 of a hospital bill that I had in early April. And I've arranged to have that handled, okay? But I need to talk to you about that hospital stay, because it was not satisfactory to me. Although the hospital staff bent over backwards to be nice and turn it into a leisure experience for me. At the end of the hospital stay, I'd had 2 sets of x-rays, a CAT scan, a very, very subtle test for what is that? Phenylketonuria. I'd had a bunch of tests, and when I was discharged, no doctor or lab person had delivered to me any of the test results. I had no diagnosis. I had no prognosis, and I was given absolutely no medications or advice when I left the hospital, none whatsoever. I went in with atrial fib, and I came out and was just expected to walk out the door and not have to bother them anymore. And yet Medicare didn't cover $2,000 of the costs, okay. Now that is a cartel in sickness management that is not benefiting the people who have to pay for these bills. All right. And I'd like to share with you some stories about how hospitals are dealing with this COVID-19 emergency. And these stories will make you sick to your stomach. The above hospital received a 7-year-old boy with a scorpion sting. They refused to treat him for a scorpion sting and immediately said he had corona. The parents begged for the scorpion shot. This hospital refused and instead let the kid die. The kid died quickly and it was written down as a coronavirus death. The same hospital received a 5-year-old boy who was perfectly healthy but had a broken arm, and the parents left the kid there overnight. The next day, the kid was returned in an ash urn, dead from corona and already cremated, and the parents were never notified before cremation. They simply arrived to an urn the next morning. Somebody thinks they just simply stole the kid. This hospital received a baby that had been born and was in bad condition, expected to die. The baby did die, and the hospital offered the mother a payoff to record it as a coronavirus death. At least they did not kill it. There might not be killings going on at this hospital. Next hospital. This hospital is where the 2 doctors who probably murder people that I have mentioned in this site are based. If the parents identify them from photos I have, then it will be proven and I'll post the photos. These doctors will go to the first hospital I mentioned here when needed. They may have been the ones that murdered the 2 kids, but they're obviously more than the 2 murdering doctors in this system. All right. Coronavirus is being misapplied to all kinds of deaths for a purpose and a reason. It is being controlled by another layer of political control that has nothing to do with medical skill. The whole coronavirus pandemic, as it were, is a staged event, understood, that is intended to clear traffic and get things into a status of treading water. We're all just treading water while we're waiting for some things to happen. Some of the things that need to happen are the prosecution of indictments that bring pedophiles and child traffickers and drug runners and gun runners to justice. So we the people understand that there's a lot more going on between the lines than there is on the lines. However, this has gotten to a level, that it needs to be discussed. And because the social media censor anyone who wants to speak even-handedly to the right and to the left, social media needs to be dealt with as an intervening ideology, as a form of sedition, as a form of top-down control of our political system. Likewise, the mainstream media represents not true information, but an agenda to control the perceptions of the people and keep the people in a mental lockdown. I have been subject to the madness of television since 1951, when we had our first little 17-inch black and white TV. And I walked out of the TV situation when I graduated from high school, but I see the people who are addicted to the television's emanations and opinions and values all the time, and they're not capable of thinking from point A to point B to point C. All right. So who are these cartels that are harming people for profit? One is the drug and vaccine cartel. The fact is, and I'll show you a graphic, in the United States each year, 250,000 people die from iatrogenic disease, which is to say medical errors and drug reactions. All right. Sickness care is one of the most lethal aspects of healthcare. Okay, we have our problem with free speech and the cartels around social media. We now have, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, all food sources have been centralized in large grocery chains and large organizations. All right, the mom and pop shop has gone out of business. This is not safe for the people because of the tendency and the practice of agribiz and big farmer and big pharma to load our food and water with chemicals. And so small decentralized farms are where we really need to return to. Okay, there's a legal cartel, and the legal cartel avoids and neglects to teach the difference between laws of the land, the common laws, and the Maritime Admiralty UCC codes and administrative codes in which there are no human rights whatsoever. In the commercial laws and treaties like the Griata and the Tau 9, there is no mention of any right to life of any human or animal on our world. Okay. And then, of course, we have education with teachers being mind programmed into their leftist methods of destroying and taking down what civil governance we have, and they don't have a single idea what they want to replace it with, except to dole out everybody a living wage, and who works is an option. It's socialism has never worked, communism has never worked without being totalitarian, and it's not going to work here. And so that's what I'm faced with this morning. $2,000 for a medical experience that was neglectful, malfeasant, and incompetent. And the realization that some people I really respect who are in my centrist position on the political spectrum have been methodically censored by the profiteering social media, and that these so-called nonprofit organizations are nothing more than leftist takedown insurgencies. And I just really don't think that the rich gazillionaires and millionaires and billionaires are a responsible class of people. And I want to see that the entire House of Representatives gets recalled because they don't seem to be able to function in a responsible way. Let's recall the House of Representatives in November and only return to Washington, D.C. representatives who actually intend to solve some problems and resolve some conflicts and disputes, and never mind creating spectacular fights and protests and strikes. That is not going to solve a single problem that we have in this country. And that's how I feel about this morning. And that hospital visit for me was a waste of my time. And I've figured out how to deal with atrial fib myself. And that's because they're too into themselves to actually care about what people have to confront themselves. Thank God I can pray and God tells me what to do and how I can live my life in a peaceful way. And I'm Emily Craig, and that's what I have to say about it. We'll see you.